In accordance with Resolution 75-4, I now give the floor to His Excellency Munir Akram, Permanent Representative of Pakistan to the United Nations and President of the Economic and Social Council.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President of the General Assembly, distinguished Secretary General, Mr. President of the Security Council, Your Excellency, Chair of the Movement of Non-Aligned Countries, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be able to speak to the General Assembly's special session in response to the coronavirus disease pandemic. The crisis triggered by the COVID-19 is a health crisis, an economic crisis, and above all, a humanitarian crisis. Global infections have reached 65 million. 1.5 million people have died. We have lost one of our own, Ambassador Toure, the Chargé-d'Affaires of Guinea. I would like to take this opportunity to express my deepest condolences to his family and the government of Guinea. The economic statistics are equally devastating. A global economic contraction of nearly 5%. Over 60 developing countries need urgent financial help. 5 countries have defaulted on debt payments. 20 countries face acute food security and scarcity. Over 300 million jobs lost. 100 million people pushed back into extreme poverty. Excellencies, confronted by this monumental crisis, the world's response must be equally bold. We must first ensure that a vaccine against the virus becomes available to everyone, everywhere, rich or poor, man or woman, on an equitable basis. Those who are the most at risk, health workers, the ill and infirm, women and children, must receive priority. Advance purchase agreements for the virus must not be allowed to undermine our collective commitment to equity in vaccine distribution. A collective global commitment to the COVAX and the CTAP facility is indispensable. Governments must also commit to transparency in all matters related to the production, distribution, and fair pricing of the vaccine. Second, each government should be encouraged to respond to the people's needs. As the managing director of the IMF has advised, countries should spend as much as needed to keep their people alive and their economies afloat. It is evident that the developing countries do not have the fiscal space to finance a recovery from the pandemic. I may mention that later in this session, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Imran Khan, will propose an emergency plan for financial support to the developing countries. If there is an economic collapse or a humanitarian disaster in the developing countries, it will halt a global economic recovery, and the achievement of the SDGs will turn into a chimera. Excellencies, in deploying resources, governments and international institutions must put people first. No one should be left behind. To lift millions out of poverty and build resilience in our societies, investments in sustainable infrastructure will be vital. Science and technology must be deployed in building back better. Research and development objectives, the international patent regime, and the digitalization of economies should be aligned with the SDGs and climate objectives. I am confident that this special session will contribute significantly to the achievement of these important objectives. Mr. President, I'm also confident that ECOSOC, through its forthcoming Forum on Financing for Development next April, the Forum on Science and Technology and Innovation in May, and the high-level political forum in July will complement and advance the deliberations and outcomes of this special session to build resilient structures that can recover from the COVID crisis, achieve the SDGs, and prevent a climate catastrophe. Mr. President, this is a time for the expression of international solidarity. This is a time for us to turn our nice words into concrete and specific actions. I thank you, sir.
I thank the President of the Economic and Social Council for his statement.